Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today I'm once again playing my beloved green-black TUBRODEPTHS, which is a deck that I play quite often on the channel, and I'm probably going to be taking to the European Legacy Masters at the end of the year, but I'll see how my other testing goes. So, the aim of this deck, make a 2020 using Dark Depths, either with Vampire Hexmage or Thespian Stage. Then, turn it sideways, your opponent dies. We have ways to protect it in the form of Not of This World, and discard to take things out of our opponent's hand, as well as Sejiri Steppe, which we can find off of our crop rotation. Then we have Pithing Needles to deal with Wastelands and Caracas and stuff, and Fast Mana to make this happen quicker, and then Tutors with the Sylvan Scrying, crop rotations, etc. Our silver bullets for lands, we have a Boseiju we can find with Sylvan Scrying, so we can fire that one off. And we have a Ghost Quarter that we can use to blow up scary lands. We don't care about them getting a basic because we just need to get a specific land like a Maze of Ith or a Caracas or whatever out of play. And we're not playing Wasteland because we're naming Wasteland with Pithing Needle. That's pretty much it for the main deck. This is the same list I played on the previous video. It felt really solid. I wanted to give it another go. Sideboard wise, we have 4 Leyline in the Void, 4 Abrupt Decay, kills Opposition Agent, Blood Moon, and Mages of the Moon. 3 Apostles Blessing, which gives us protection from removal spells as well as the ability to attack through blockers, especially artifact blockers like Thoughtseize tokens. Then we have 4 Null Rod effects split between 2 different types because there's pros and cons of both of them. If you'd like more details about this deck, you can check out my primer below where I have a detailed guide to this deck that I update every month. So go and take a look at that if you would like to know more about this deck, how to play it, why there's certain card choices, etc. But for now, I think we're just about ready to play some Legacy. Like and subscribe and let's go. So we can do some stuff here. So we have an option here of playing Boseiju, crop rotating it into an Urborg and duressing our opponent. Seems pretty good to me. Right, just an Ancient Tomb from our opponent. Okay. Is the Yavimaya going to be better? I'm just trying to think. Ancient Tomb might mean things like Ensnaring Bridge. We might want to break up with a Boseiju. So I think we play out the Yavimaya. We cast a crop rotation. Go and get ourselves an Urborg. Cast a Duress targeting our opponent and see what they're on. The One Ring and some other stuff. Alright, so they're on Colourless Cloud Post. So we should be able to kill them in a couple of turns. Next time we make our 2020, and then the turn after we get them. Kill them post? Sure. This does put them up 1 life, which is actually important. Alright, they're tapping their Ancient Tomb. Sorcerer's Spyglass. That's kind of annoying. So they're going to see what we're on, and they're going to name Vampire Hexmage. We can Boseiju this away when the time comes. Whether or not our opponent has a basic to fetch, I do not know. But it'll be good information to have once we fire off our Boseiju. Now, our opponent's a long way off casting Urborg, but they do have a Thespian stage, which is awkward for where we're sat right now. So we can't play out our Thespian stage here. We can cast this Spirit Guide and blow up their Spyglass. And then next turn, we make the Hexmage. So delayed by a turn. There's a Thespian stage. So we will blow this up. We need to find a way of stopping this Thespian stage. We have Pithing Needle, Ghost Quarter, and we can also just get a green source and 2 it for it. Let's see if they have a basic in their deck. They do not. That's good news. Lotus Petal. This is actually an interesting one for us. So play this out. We'll Sylvan Scrying. Get ourselves a Ghost Quarter. Play the Ghost Quarter. And pass. So we can blow this up, and then we can play our Hexmage, because you can't play this while they can just activate the Thespian stage, because then they get a 2020. Alright. So activate the Thespian stage at the end. Alright. What has our opponent got? City of Traitors, we knew about that one. The One Ring. Okay. That buys them a turn off here. But we weren't going to attack them in this turn cycle anyway. Pithing Needle is pretty good against these One Ring decks. I think we're incentivized to make this now in case they have a Thespian stage or something. You're just getting this awkward cat and mouse game. So we have this. The One Ring is going to put them back down to 20. So they need to find something good off of it this turn. I think they can only get 7 mana this turn. So Urborg's probably not going to impact us too much. They could have something like a Karn into Ensnaring Bridge, which would be hard for us to beat. An Eldrazi Temple. Okay. Thought Not Seer. 5 mana. 7 mana. All is Dust. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Alright. So we need a green source. Okay, we have a green source. Play this out. Cast this. Go and get another Dark Depths. So we were punished for playing around Thespian stage there because they had All is Dust. Now we know that they're running All is Dust, maybe we're more inclined to play around it next time. This gives our opponent more time, and obviously every turn you have the One Ring, you just get yourself closer and closer to winning the game because it's a pretty powerful card. So it's now drawn them 6 cards for 4 mana so far. I can draw them 4 cards next turn. A Glimmer Post, sure. Not a Cloud Post, thankfully, so they're not going to have loads of mana. Khan the Great Creator. This is probably going to beat us. So we might lose this game because we played around Thespian stage. So we played around the thing that we'd seen, which is unfortunate. Ensnaring Bridge. We have 1 Boseiju in our sideboard right now. We have 1 Boseiju in our graveyard. So that's not going to cut the mustard, is it? So what are we supposed to do now? Play out our Dark Depths. We can make a 20/20, but they can cast their Ensnaring Bridge. And I don't think we can beat that because our Boseiju's gone. So I think our opponent just has to kill us before the One Ring kills them now. If we can find a green source, we can deploy a Spirit Guide, which can do a little bit of beatdown. But our opponent should be able to win now. They can just go get a Lattice. But I suppose they have to play the Ensnaring Bridge here, right? So they've got 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. So they can't Lattice and Bridge. Alright, Cloud Post. We're just trying to see more of our opponent's deck here, I think. We are dead to the Cloud Post, the Ensnaring Bridge. We'll see if they show us any more cards from their deck. I think they just play the Lattice next turn and kill us. They have 10 cards in hand, but they will not have 10 cards in hand, or even... Well, they're never going to have 20... Well, they could have 20 cards in hand, but the One Ring will probably kill them before then. They can also use the Ulamog. Okay, so they can reset the ring here and then play the Ulamog. I think we can just... Could see some more cards, but we know they got 1 ring in the board. Alright, so Collector Ouphe, Null Rod, and Abrupt Decays are useful here. Not of This World will do nothing. Our discard stuff is going to be useful. I don't think Caracas... Sorry, not Caracas. I don't think the Bojuka Bog is where we want to be. So that gives us 4 cuts if we want to fit all of these in. Is it more important to duress some of their stuff away or be able to answer it after the fact? Now, this can answer some stuff, but not everything. Are we just cutting some duresses? Or are we cutting some amount of Lotus Petals here? Kind of got the Pithing Needle to answer the Khan already. Do we want to have any Lotus Petals in here? I don't know the full extent of what their deck can offer. Like, we have a Lotus Petal early on and we're going to play it out, so I think that's probably fine to keep a couple in, because we'll get the use out of it before we deploy our guys. If we draw them later on, but only having 2 in the deck isn't the worst. Yeah, this makes a turn 3 guy, and we get to disrupt them twice along the way. Once with Thoughtseize, once with Collector Ouphe. Seems pretty nice. We've got a Ghost Quarter as well. I think we can afford to get a Bayou here. Let's try and poke a hole in our opponent's hand and see what they're up to. Thoughtseer, Chalice of the Void, Sorcerer's Spyglass. They don't have 2 mana on turn 1 at present. Interesting. They could draw a Soul Land. If they draw a Soul Land, what am I worried about? Interesting. Chalice does stop us from casting a lot of spells if they can find it. Spyglass will be annoying. We can answer it. I think we take the Chalice. We don't just want them to shut off our crop rotation. Alright, just a Cloud Post over to us. Sylvan Scrying, that's not a bad one to have. So we play out our... They have a Glimmer Post, which is kind of irritating in a weird way. But we will be Collector Ouphe soon. We want this Yavimaya out, because that makes our combo better though. Means we can do it on 3 lands. Alright, there's the Collector Ouphe. There's the Vesuva copying the Cloud Post. And we're going to see a Sorcerer's Spyglass. We do have the answer for that. But it's going to be a touch slow here. They'll probably name Thespian stage. Looking at what we have here. That's what I would name anyway. Ghost Quarter. Interesting. Okay, so we kind of have everything we need here. So we can deploy this. We can go to attacks. Glimmer Post. This gains them a little bit of life. An annoyingly relevant amount of life. Thoughtseize. This resolves and we'll put with the trigger on a stack we will cast our... This will take us off of black mana. We can find black mana other ways. Let's crop rotate this away. Let's go and get Thespian stage. Now they can Thoughtseize us. We will lose our bit of protection that we had. We've just got an Ensnaring Bridge here. Sorcerer's Spyglass. Okay, in response to this, we will make our guy. Sejiri Steppe off the top will not help us because of the Thoughtseize. We probably should have taken Sejiri Steppe out, but we don't know if they're playing how far into artifact stuff they are and whether or not they can deploy any other creatures. Seems unlikely, Boseiju who shelters all. Okay. That's the wrong one, I think. It's Boseiju who endures is the one they wanted. Elvish Spirit Guide. Okay, we will go to attacks. We will attack with this. Opponent's on 1. We can turn our Thespian stage into something. Not that that's going to help us in this moment. We don't want to copy a Cloud Post because this is for each locus on the battlefield. Alright, so we got the win there. I think we should have taken out the Sejiri Steppe here. And I would like a Duress back in. I think just try and cut them off with more plays. On the draw, do I want Lotus Petals? Or do I want another Duress? I think I want another Duress. Sure, we'll go for this. So their deck is not that fast. So we have options here. We have an interesting selection of cards here. But this does find a 2020. But we've got some decent stuff. But this isn't the disruption I would like. I think we can do better. Pithing Needle for the One Ring or Khan. We can make our guy when the time comes. I think we probably need some discard though. We can do better. Sure, this is better. How many discard spells do we want? 2 of these cards have got to go. I think we are... I don't think we can afford to get rid of the forest. Maybe that's greedy if we get rid of the forest. We have 2 draw steps to find a land. Sure. I'm going to go the greedy route here. Our deck's got a lot of mana sources in. It's mostly mana sources. Okay, that's not one of them. I think we Thoughtseize first. Chalice of the Void they can cast next turn. Khan the Great Creator. We can Pithing Needle one thing here. What are we Pithing Needling? They probably play the Chalice next turn, which is awkward. I think we have to take the Chalice here. And then we need to find a land. The crop rotation is fine because it can turn our Dark Depths into an active mana source. Land, please. We found a land. Never punished. So this can get us a Bayou as well. Let's Duress and see what our opponent's got there. Khan the Great Creator and the One Ring. Which of these is actually scarier to me is the question. Because one of them gets Pithing Needled, one of them gets discarded. I think we take the Khan with the Needle. Okay, so we've got 3 cards in hand. I've done that one wrong. Thoughtseize, Thoughtseize. So one of these should be a Thoughtseize. Let's cast Sylvan Scrying. Let's go and get Thespian stage. Let's deploy our Thespian stage just so if they rip a Dark Depths, they don't just get a 2020 immediately. Since we know that's in their deck. Now the Dark Depths, our opponent cannot make an Audis Dust this turn, right? So if they played a Glimmer Post, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, they're scooping it because we've got the win there. Interesting. I haven't seen people jamming Eldrazi for a while. Obviously, they're just running the Thoughtseize and basically a colorless Cloud Post deck. I doubt they've got... Like, yeah, they do still have like the big top-end Eldrazi, but normally you're just casting those off of all your Cloud Posty stuff anyway. But I guess it kind of can do a bit of work there. All right, that was interesting. Let's go to round 2. We're on the play for round 2. We don't have access to a Dark Depths in any way, so I don't think we can keep this hand. This does have Dark Depths. It's kind of an ugly one, I think. I think we could do better than this. If this was a Bayou, I would probably keep this hand. But as it stands, I don't think this is the one for me. We can make turn 1 2020s off of... Okay, this is a turn 3 thing with a Thoughtseize. Or is it a turn... We can do a turn 2 if we don't Thoughtseize. But we're definitely Thoughts. Oh wait, no, we can't do this because we've got to put some cards back. Steady on, Cyrus. Alright. So, 2 cards got to go on the bottom. So we get rid of the Ghost Quarter and the Lotus Petal. We say done. We can drop this Lotus Petal. We can Thoughtseize our opponent first and see if we need to change or decide which land gets played first. We're hoping that Thoughtseize into turn 3 2020 is good enough. It might not be. Force of Negation pitching Fire Ice. Okay, I know what our opponent is playing. I think it's the... what's it called? The Rhinos deck. That's the only deck that plays Fire and Ice. I hate that deck. I don't think it's very good. Although the newer versions are better. But when it first came out, it just felt really bad. But I think it is improving. But I still don't like it. You need a good reason to not play Brainstorm. Not of this world. Okay. That's something we can use in a bit. So if they make Rhinos this turn, Next turn we can make a 20/20 to block if we need to. Okay, they didn't make it. They sometimes have a Brazen Borrow in their deck. So we have the Knot of this World, so we might be okay here. There could just be another deck running Fire and Ice, but I don't know what deck that would be. I don't know what reason you would run Fire and Ice other than the fact that it doesn't get hit by Cascade spells. Okay, so we'll play this out. We'll play out this Lotus Petal so we can play our Knot of this World around some sort of days. They probably won't have days, but we might have read them wrong and there might be a different deck that does have access to that sort of effect. I suspect that's not the case, but they are making me think that they are on the old Rhino plan. Force of Will pitching Fire Ice. Interesting. Do they not realise that the Dark Depths is going to tap for enough mana? Maybe. Not sure. So they could put 2 Rhinos into play right now. If they have Spirit Guide plus the Cascade spell. So if you're unfamiliar with this Rhino deck, it plays 3 mana Cascade stuff like Violent Outburst and what's the other one? Shardless Agent, stuff like that. And it also has Minsk and Boo at the top end, so it can get Crashing Footfalls with its Cascade. Okay, so we'll keep this one. Make it 20/20. We have Not of This World. Let's see if it's good enough. It was good enough, as it turns out. Okay, so this deck. We need to keep in the Pithing Needles because they run Minsk and Boo. They probably have bounce spells, so Not of This World is okay. Flying wise, they just have the Borrower, so I think Not of This World is just better in that respect. Do we want some sort of Abrupt Decay effect in there? I'm not familiar with every single minutiae of decks, but the fact that they don't really want to play non-land permanents with mana value less than 3, it means that this is just going to be killing Rhinos. Is killing Rhinos good enough? I don't think so. I think we just run it back. Do you want? Yeah, I think we run it back. If we see anything that makes us change our mind, then we can do that in game 3. But I think for now we just want to make a guy, and it should usually clock 8 power on turn 1. This hand is what I would describe as a mulligan. This one requires us to resolve our crop rotation against our opponent who's got a whole bunch of effects that can damage us. Like they got Force of Negations and Force of Wills. I think we can mulligan. I think we need a little bit of hand disruption along the ways. Okay, 2 of these cards have got to go. I don't think we can have 2 Duresses in this hand. Do we want to go all in on this Vampire Hexmage on turn 1? That is the other option here. Maybe that's what we need to do and just say, do you have it? So we can get rid of these 2. So if we find... no, let's think, sorry. Maybe we're supposed to get rid of the Hexmage and then use the Sylvan Scrying. Yeah. I don't think it's worth holding out for the other Lotus Petal there. Like, we're almost certainly going to draw it now, but... Alright, so we do get a turn. I would like to draw a Bayou or something. A crop rotation. That's an interesting one. I think we'll play it as Lotus Petal. We'll use this to duress our opponent. And we might be able to crack off an early crop rotation here for something like a Yavimaya. Force of Will, Endurance, Murktide Region. I think we can race the 4/4s next turn. So we take the Force of Will here. And we play this out, and while we know the getting's good, we will turn it into a Yavimaya. And then we can use these 2 next turn to go and get Thespian stage. We might have to crack through an Endurance and or a Murktide Regent. So this wants to be a Yavimaya. Alright. So they can't make the Violent Outburst this turn, but they can make it next turn with their second land drop. So there's 2 4/4s. Going to be good enough. They're not going to have that many cards in their graveyard, so Murktide might be a little ways off. They make it in our turn because it's an instant. Okay, Verdant Catacombs, we're not casting that. So we're playing this. Let's see if we can do our Sylvan Scrying. Or have they drawn a counterspell? They did draw a counterspell. Understood. And now they make 2 4/4s. And we are looking to draw a Thespian stage, a crop rotation. Those will be enough to win. If we draw a Sylvan Scrying, we can win the turn after, like a turn later. But we should be able to beat what our opponent's doing here. So they're going to Cascade, and we're going to get to have a little look at that deck. There it is. There's the Violent Outburst. Alright, so we can see a whole bunch of cards here. Alright, the reveal cards over here. They've got a Blood Moon. That's good to know. If this goes to a game 3, we can definitely do something about that. So we know they've got Endurance here. So they bash him for 8. Next turn they can bash him for 11. That's still not lethal, but it will be if we crack this. But we don't have to crack the Verdant Catacombs unless we need black mana. So crack him for 11. We can't crack our Verdant Catacombs. If our opponent plays this Endurance, how do we beat them? Even if we make a 20-20 on the next turn, they can still swing through with lethal. Yeah, our opponent's got us here. I'm just going to take another look at their reveal cards before I scoop. So we've got 2 Blood Moons in here. And 1 Borrower, 2 Borrower, 2 Borrowers. That's not that many, is it? This is most of their deck. Okay, so we'll go to the next game. Because this is 11 damage, and even if we make a 20-20, it won't be good enough. Alright, so now we've seen that we want these Abrupt Decays in. Didn't really see the Minsk and Booze. Or am I being daft? I don't recall seeing the Minsk and Booze in there. Alright, we'll take out these Pithing Needles for that. And we just have the Abrupt Decays in, and that'll do. I don't think it's worth bringing in Leyline just to make sure a Murktide doesn't come into play. We should be beating that a lot of the time anyway. So we can keep a good 7 for once. Our deck does mulligan heavily, so it's expected. Right, this hand doesn't make anything we need it to do, so let's mulligan. This hand has a Thoughtseize into Thoughtseize, and we're just relying on any green source or any... Yeah, we keep this one. Any green source gets us there. Vampire Hexmage gets us there. A Thespian stage gets us there. So that's a whole bunch, and we can throw away the excess. Urborg. Let's jam this. We get 2 Thoughtseizes along the way here as well, which should definitely poke a decent hole in our opponent's hand. So what do we have? They do have the Minsk and Boo there. We can take this Shardless Agent. Yeah, we take the Shardless Agent. Just keep them off of it. They do have the Minsk and Boos, but I think the Minsk and Boo on the play for us is going to be too slow for us to worry about. Like, we should be hopefully winning by then. Scalding Tarn. Cheeky green source, please, deck. How am I so good at this game? Oh dear. Alright, so we Thoughtseize our opponent again. And we take the Seeming Spirit Guide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we cross all these ones out. And then we crack this. Now, while we know they don't have any counter spells, for a Bayou or a Forest. Does it matter? I think we want the Bayou here because we are crop rotating it away. And then this becomes a Thespian stage. Now we know they don't have any counter spells. They can't play a Blood Moon on the next turn. And if they play a Blood Moon on the turn after, it doesn't matter because we'll already have a 20-20 and then we'll just win the game. Liking our spot. Wouldn't mind drawing a Knot as well just to really seal the deal. But feel we are in a commanding position. Oh, I love this deck. There's the Misty Rainforest. It's over to us. If this goes wrong somehow, we can also just go right again. So that's pretty nice. What are you going to do on 3 mana, opponent? Misty Rainforest? Sure. They have 2 mystery cards in hand. Oh, are they playing something here? Now, if they tap out, that's obviously even better for us. It's just a free roll. Alright. Volcanic Island. Is this going to be a green source or something? Like a basic forest and then cast Blood Moon, which we don't care about. They have to play it in case we make a mistake. The amount of times I've accidentally passed priority is too many. Now, if the last cards in their hand are exactly Brazen Borrower and Blood Moon, then we're in trouble. Because they can hold up a Borrower, bounce our 20-20, untap, play Blood Moon. But it looks like they're paying costs. Is this for a Murktide Regent? Seems pretty reasonable. Yeah, so there's a Murktide Regent. So they have a chump blocker for a turn. Would love to draw a Knot of this world. Just to make me feel safe with this situation. A Ghost Quarter. That doesn't really interest me right now, unless I don't think they have any basics left. Well, it does give us the access to a basic land of our own, if we want it. Because we can target our own Urborg, but I don't think that's where I want to be. Play a Thespian stage out. So they can't just play a Blood Moon here. They have to have a bounce spell. Which means we will get to make another Dark Depths if they do answer our Merit Lage. Right, we've got the game and the match. So, yeah, we are cruising at 2-0 right now. Let's keep it running and go into the 3rd round. On the play, not a bad place to be. But our mana base is a little bit awkward here. If we find an additional land, we have 2 bonus mana. So if we find an additional land, we can get there. Alright, yeah, this is a keep then. Like, we have the hardest part of our deck to find, or like the most important part to find. Because there's only 4 of this A, but there's lots of the B. Okay, our opponent's mulligan to 5, so our Thoughtseize is looking mighty tasty right now. Lay down a basic. Cast Thoughtseizes targeting our opponent. Okay, one of these decks, A. Grim Monolith, Lotus Petal, Manifold Key, the One Ring. So they've got a lot of mana if they have the Monolith. I think we still just take the payoff here. And I think in case of Chalice, we'll play out this Lotus Petal. Maybe our opponent will put Chalice on 0 at some point. Seems unlikely, but they might do. Their deck has a lot of 1s in it with the keys and things. I think it's only got a few zeros of like petals. It's not like a bauble deck or anything. We should be able to race this as a Saga if we find one more land. If we find a Hexmage, we can also go. So we've got a lot of draws in our deck. The Saga we knew about. Yep. And the Lotus Petal. We're going to see Grim Monolith and the key here, I assume. There's a Monolith. Tap it. Play the key. Use the key to untap the Monolith. If they've got another card to play, then sure. If they've drawn another 4-drop, that'd be pretty irritating. Oh, they have drawn another 4-drop. Oh my god. This game sometimes. Alright. Time to draw a Pithing Needle and annoy our opponent. Our sideboard is pretty good for this matchup. So, what do we want this turn? If we Sylvan Scrying, we go and get Thespian Stage. We play Thespian Stage. Next turn we can play a 2020. Let's hope that's good enough. Our opponent's going to be below 20, so that's reassuring. So we're going to draw some cards. This is the reason we have 4 Null Rod effects in our deck. Yep. Grim Monolith. Mystic Forge. Sure, that's fine. Not super fine, but we need them to not find another ring. Alright. So we have this. I think we're supposed to crop rotate this first into an... So we crop rotate this into a Yavimaya. We want to do this before the Urza Saga goes off, though. Right, so now with this on the stack. Tap this. We'll crop rotate this swamp away. Because the Yavimaya means we can at least crop rotate again if something happens. Not sure what exactly is going to happen. We need to make this now so we don't get Pithing Needled. Use this and then more mana floating, so we still have a crop rotation if we need it. Not really sure what that's going to achieve for us. Keep this one. So our opponent needs to kill us or make an ensnaring bridge or play another One Ring. Now they're drawing a lot of extra cards this turn with the One Ring. Lion's Eye Diamond, sure. If they give us a situation where we can crop rotate and get rid of something from their graveyard like an Echo of Eons, I don't think they're running Echo of Eons, but it's not an impossibility with the Lion's Eye Diamond there. The correct build of this deck has not been settled on. Alright, there's a defense grid. I think they're just playing that to clear the top card rather than interfere with anything we're doing. Right, and then now they're doing it so we can't get rid of the Echo. That's smart. We get to draw a whole new bunch of cards. We can draw enough free mana from Elvish Spirit Guides to play through a defense grid, but it's unlikely. Echo of Eons, sure. We did not draw enough of those free manas to cast anything. Not that we had any instants anyway. Basalt Monolith, sure. Mesmeric Orb. Okay. So they can mill the top card of a library whenever they want until they find what they want, but they're going to need mana. Now they should be able to find the mana off the top of their library, or if they find a key, that gives them plus mana. But we're in a bit of a sit and wait for our opponent to click a whole bunch of nonsense phase of the game here. So yeah, stuff like Mox Opal will give them plus mana. Keys will give them plus mana. Lotus Petals plus mana. Grim Monoliths. Alright, another Basalt Monolith. I believe this is deterministic, but we get to see our opponent's deck, which is the main thing. So let's just keep a look at their graveyard here. Quick peek at their exile. They still haven't used their One Ring activation yet either. If they find another One Ring, then they can fog us for a turn because they get protection. Alright, there's a Manifold Key. They should be able to loop through their whole deck at this point, I think. Just like to see as much of the deck as possible, and it doesn't cost us any time on our clock, so it's worth doing, just in case we see any interesting spice or something that we need to keep in mind. Now our matchup against this deck is pretty good. We have 4 Null Rod effects, 4 Pithing Needles, and Abrupt Decays, which can hit some scary things that our opponents might have. they basically can't win through the Null Rod effects. So that's going to be where we're looking to go with this one. So there's a Walking Ballista in their graveyard. I assume they have a Karn that can go find a Walking Ballista. Or are we going to see some Thassa's Oracle kill here? We're going to Echo again. Karn the Great Creator, sure. What would you like to find? Opponent? Aetherflux Reservoir. Alright, so they play this, and then whenever they cast a spell, they gain a bunch of life. And then they pay a load of life and dome us for a bunch. So this will give them plus 22, so any other spell is lethal here. They don't have to show us anything else. Sure, we'll concede the game. Alright, so this matchup should be okay, as long as we get our good stuff going. I don't think we want the Leyline the Voids just for the echoes. I don't think that's necessary. Not this world, not very useful here. Bojuka Bog sometimes can be useful. Ghost Quarter is very good here. Sejiri Steppe, not very good. Although we might be able to snag a Dismember hitting our Collector Ouphe, but I don't think that's worth keeping in. So this is 60. If we want any of these Abrupt Decays in, which we do because they're going to have things like Ensnaring Bridge. So we kind of want these are useful to power out our Null Rod effects, which is kind of the awkward one here. But I think we're on the play, we're just better off with the discard right now. So let's try like this. I've not dropped a match to this deck yet with what we've got here. Okay, turn 1, Duress. Turn 2, Collector Ouphe. That's a good enough keep. We don't need to make a 20-20 if our opponent doesn't get to play the game. Okay, Karn the Great Creator. So turn 1, they play Ancient Tomb. And they play maybe the Orb or the Key. Do any of these matter is the question I have here. We can take the Karn and then name the Urza's Saga with a Pithing Needle. Let's see what they go with here. I think they might just go Saga, Key. Oh, they went Ancient Tomb first. Alright. Tomb and Mesmeric Orb. Alright, sure. I'll mill for 1, I guess. Vampire Hexmage. So we'll play out our Thespian stage here. And we'll deploy our little lad. And now if they play the Saga, we then Pithing Needle it, so they never get to make any constructs with it. And then in our leisure, we can make a 20-20 and kill them. There is the Saga. Are they going to play out anything like the Mox here? They're going to play out the Monolith. And the Mox. They just want to make sure their Urza's Saga construct is as big as possible. But they don't know that they're not going to be able to do that. We mill a card. That's fine. We mill 2 cards even. Another Collector Ouphe. I don't hate that one. Play this out. We will play this on Urza's Saga. And then I think we crop rotate. Oh, not crop rotate. We Sylvan Scrying for Dark Depths here. So next turn we make a 20-20. And we're all good. City of Traitors. So they could play a Karn here. A Mystic Forge. Okay. That lets them play colourless cards from top of their library. But they can't activate the ability. And they're playing a Key. Sure. So they got 1 card in hand. I don't know if they play that from the top of their library or not. Interesting. We'll yield to these. We can get milled. That's fine. Okay. So we have a Dark Depths. We can't put a Pithing Needle on Karn at the same time though. How worried am I about Karn? That is an interesting question. I could take a turn off to Pithing Needle Karn. But what can they do with Karn? They can't make any more mana. No, I think we just make the 20-20 and just get the game over and done with. This can get a Pithing Needle here. So we do this now. I guess they could still Karn and Ensnaring Bridge this turn. If they have a Soul Land. 1 Abrupt Decay in the bin. Okay. Dismember on our guy. Okay. Are we just dead now? Maybe we should have played the conservative line. If we'd have played this and the Pithing Needle out, we might have been alright. Okay, so they're basically looking for Karn here. We can still beat that with Abrupt Decay, but we should have just played out the Collector Ouphe here. We might have punted this one a little bit. We should be able to win now. I think we've just punted this one, but we've got to let our opponent play it through. Yeah, this is a bit upsetting. We had this one, I think. Yep, so there's a Karn. So you can get the Aetherflux Reservoir. Yeah, and then just play this. 10 spells. So they can just gain life to get past our Marit Lage. It's pretty annoying. It's going to be very hard for them to fizzle here with the Echo Vions in the graveyard as well. But we've got to make them play it out. So players lines like Diamond, gains them in life, and we lose. Yeah, we played that one. We should have just played out the things. That's on me. We should have had that match. This matchup is good. I had the tools to beat it here. I just thought I would try and beat around them. But we should have just played these. Yeah, my bad. Alright, let's go to match 4. Alright. We have access to our thing. We have protection. And we can keep this. This does have to get a Bayou though. Given the nature of turn 1 decks, I think it's right to get the Bayou here and Thoughtseize our opponent. Rather than playing the crop, holding up the crop rotation or playing the thing. So what we got here? Not a lot of interesting things. I think we'll take the payoff here. That can maybe get something that interferes with what we're up to. I'd rather not do that. Okay. A Noble Hierarch. Our opponent's deck can play Wastelands. And we have a choice about what land we play here. I think we have to play the Sejiri Steppe so that we can combo next turn. So next turn, if we find some mana, we can combo. Or another crop rotation lets us combo off as well. So the Noble Hierarch, the Dryad Arbor, and the Basic Forest. The Dark Depths. That's not the one. Are we crop rotating now or are we duressing our opponent? Our opponent can cast a Natural Order next turn, so I'm going to duress them. Just to snuff out. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. Okay, then I guess we'll play out our Dark Depths here. So we need an additional mana here. Sure, we don't care about these mediocre beats. Well, not yet. We might do. Urborg. Okay, that's a very useful one for us. I don't think we let our opponent opposition agent us. So we tap this for 1. That's for green. Crop rotate, sacrificing our Sejiri Steppe. We go and get Thespian stage. Thespian stage will target this. And play with this and the Dark Depths mana itself. We'll keep this one. And make it 2020. We have a Not of This World just in case they have like a Caracas or something. There's a Cradle. He's casting a Cradle Ouphe here. That doesn't kill us. X is 7. Okay, so they're getting a Traxxer. A little bit annoying. Pretty good rip from our opponent though. What do they got here? Endurance is another thing that we're going to have to beat through here. That's the one problem with discard. You can't stop your opponent from drawing the good stuff the turn after you discard them. So they kept Endurance, Cradle, and Natural Order. Okay. We can't Sejiri Steppe here. And they can go and get Cradle Ouphe Behemoth next turn. Which is not good. If we stay back on blocks, we can soak up 20 damage. So we can soak this up, but then they will kill us with everything else. We're forced into attacking here, unfortunately. Yeah, they gain 7 life. I think they've got this game in the bag. They're going to get the Behemoth. Let's play the Thespian stage and pass. Allosaurus Shepherd, just to make sure it's uncounterable. It's free on the mana from the Cradle anyway. Endurance. They have a second Cradle, so they can play this stuff out and just keep it going. There's the next Cradle. Shows the Cradle Ouphe. There it is. Okay, so ways of killing their mitty little men seems good. I don't really think they're going to be trying to remove our creatures anytime soon. They do sometimes use their graveyard. We don't have a way of stopping them searching for their guys. I don't mind Apostle's Blessing as a way of getting through blockers though, because they certainly put a load of those up. Sejiri Steppe's still good. Boseiju, if they've got a land shooter box, we can hit one of those. Bojuka Bog kind of has some use, but I don't think we need it here. So we get 1 Apostle's Blessing from that. If you want more Apostle's Blessing, we need to cut some more stuff. Maybe Duresses can go. Or Duresses hit the one thing I'm scared of in their deck, I guess. Maybe we'll trim a Needle for another Blessing. And use the Abrupt Decay to remove blockers. Alright. Shoulder's Edict is something we also have to worry about, which is why we want 8 discard spells. I do not want to keep this hand. Nope, we can do better. This kind of gets there. If we keep this, put 2 cards on the bottom. I don't think we can hold this Pithing Needle. We do need to use both of our crop rotations, which is awkward. We probably have to get rid of the Lotus Petal. I have a decision to make here, whether we get Bayou or Swamp. I think we can get just a Swamp here. Endurance, Natural Order. Okay, Natural Order is the thing in the hand that does stuff, so let's get rid of that. So the thing about these like sort of mid-range green-black pseudo-elf decks is that like it feels like they're running a lot of like just stuff, but they always seem to get there. It's a very deceptively powerful deck. Like sometimes it just does feel like really bad, but it has quite a lot of powerful cards that can just flip on a dime. Okay, so now what do we do? We can make a 20/20 next turn if we want to. Okay. A Noble Hierarch, sure. A Cradle. Fiend Artisan? And a Fiend Artisan, sure. If we go to the end step. I think we crop rotate this into Yavimaya now. And then we can crop rotate this on the next turn anyway. We get slightly more information. Okay, another crop rotation. Thespian stage. Are we supposed to play around the wasteland here? I think we are. We can beat the endurance with our crop rotation as well, which is why we kept the Yavimaya. There's the Dried Arbor. Masked Vandal. Okay, that doesn't do anything here. And endurance. That's not a natural order. I don't think natural order actually beats us on this. Actually, no, it probably does, right? 5, 10. Yeah, no, it would probably us. Alright. What is this? X is 1. Is this going to be another Mana Door? Birds of Paradise, I think, so they have 2 blockers. Elvish Reclaimer. Sure. That should be game. Alright. So we got that game. Do we want to do anything differently on the draw? I think these to push through blockers feels like a lot of their way of trying to win the game against us. But we kind of have the decays as well. I don't think we need the additional Apostle's Blessing here. Sure, we'll submit. Take the scary things out of the hands and go on with our lives. What does this hand do? We Thoughtseize and Duress and Sylvan Scrying. This is a little bit slow, but it's got decent disruption, and our opponent's not really a quick deck, so buy from our opponent. Is it a Mana Dork? It's a Green Sun Zenith, so it's a Dried Arbor. It's always a Mana Dork. I'll play this as a Bayou. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent here. Natural Order, Grist, Bowmasters. I guess we take the Natural Order. That's the thing that I care about here. Yeah. We could Pithing Needle the Grist, but I don't even know if I'm that bothered by the Grist. Like, it makes their Cradle and stuff better, but it's not the Cradle we care about, it's the Natural Order we care about. Okay, so if we play the Thespian stage this turn, we Sylvan Scrying for the Dark Depths now. Next time we play a Dark Depths, use the Spirit Guide for the mana we need. Right. Verdant Catacombs. That was not one of the fetch lands we'd seen. Sure, you can hit us for a small amount of damage. We will play out a Dark Depths. We'll pass the turn. Volrath's Stronghold. An oldie but a goodie. 2 mana, tap it, put a creature card from your grave on top of your library. Pretty fun one. Do I think our opponent can deal with our 20/20 at sorcery speed? I think it only prevents 1 damage, so I don't think it's worth crying over spilt milk. Just take it. Target this. Tap this. Exile this. Do love an Elvish Spirit Guide. Alright, we got the concession there. So we are 3-1. The only one we lost is when we figured we'd try and stop our opponent drawing stuff by ending the game quickly, but we should have just cancelled their things. So yes, I'm still bothered about round 3. Let's go to the final round. We are 3-1. This is our opening hand. Doesn't have access to the things we need. Let's mulligan. This is a good one. I'm going to keep this one. We can throw back a Dark Depths. We can make a 20/20 on turn 2 with a Thoughtseize on turn 1. That's how we drew it up. Our opponent's on the play though, so maybe we just get turn 1 bopped. Oh, don't chalice us. Defense Grid. Okay, that doesn't actually impact our disruption here. Urborg is probably better here, isn't it? Can help our opponent out a little bit, but let's Thoughtseize and see what they're up to. Grim Monolith and a key. They can play a 4-drop if they draw it anyway, so I think we just take the key as the thing that enables some of the gross bits and pieces. Right, so next turn we have 20/20 with crop rotation for something if we want it. City of Traitors. We're going to see this Monolith. There it is. And they draw a Mox Opal for turn. Okay. Vampire Hexmage. Do we want to try and mess with any of our opponent's lands here? I think we probably do. If we sacrifice this to make a 20/20, we can do that on our opponent's turn. I think we go crop rotate this Urborg into a Ghost Quarter, and we'll take out this Ancient Tomb. I don't think they're going to have any basics, and we'll pass a turn. Which denies them 2 mana for the turn, so pretty useful. Alright, we got the game. So we're on this matchup again, which is, in my opinion, a good matchup, as long as I don't play like a clown. Right, it's not of this worlds, and we want Abrupt Decays. I think we were boarding out some amount of Lotus Petals. Bojuka Bog could be useful, but I doubt it. Sejiri Steppe, I don't think is where I want to be here. Pithing Needle is excellent. Hand Disruption is pretty excellent too. We've got 2 cards to find. We're just taking out the petals. Trying what I did last time now. The Ghost Quarters definitely needs to stay. Bojuka Bog. I think we need the Bojuka. And then we take out another Lotus Petal. Sure. I do think this matchup is like the reason we're running things out. Turn 1, Pithing Needle or Duress. Turn 2, Hexmage. I can't say no to this one. Now, it might not be good enough, but our opponent rarely plays their payoff on turn 1. Normally turn 2 is where they really go wild. But they certainly can. If they've got a key here, they can just play their whole hand. We're going to get turn 1. Okay, how bad is it going to be? If they play the One Ring, we're supposed to Pithing Needle rather than Duress. Can't. Yikes. We're just going to find them. Are they going for one of their things, or are they going for a thing that stops us? I would love to see that one of Lotus Petal now. Yeah. A Spirit Guide would do, though. What secrets will you reveal to me, opponents? Lion's Eye Diamond. Are we going for a spin straight away? No, we're not. So we have a choice here. We're definitely playing out the Urborg. Are we casting this Duress, or are we Pithing Needle the Khan? I think we're Pithing Needle the Khan here. And next turn we can try and make our 20/20. Our opponent has some mana. And there's a Saga. We don't care about that. The game should be over before it pops. Grim Monolith. Don't ring me. Okay. This can remove all the counters from Khan in a pinch. That's not what it's there for, but sometimes it becomes necessary. Can you beat a 20/20? They cannot. So that was a very quick victory for us. And the only round we lost was the one where I took a needlessly aggressive line. I think I'm so used to not being the control, but in that matchup you kind of are. So I should have just put the other control things and just said my opponent can't do anything for the rest of the game. That would have been the smart thing to do. So this probably should have been a trophy league. Like, I think we still had to play one more game against the mono brown deck, the ring deck. So we might have still managed to lose that one. But the matchup against it is so good. Like, they have 12 cards in their deck that matter, and that's it. Well, 16, I guess. The Urza Saga doesn't really matter that much versus us, but it can provide them a threat. But so they have Khan, Mystic Forge, and the One Ring. And basically, if you can stop those cards from mattering, their deck does nothing. So we should have just shut everything down and just won that game. So yeah, 4-1, pretty good. I think last week when I played this deck, I also went 4-1. So the deck is doing consistently well. And the testing for the tournament in September is also going really well. Let's chat about the deck. I'm pretty sold on this. Again, the Apostle's Blessing is the flex slot that I haven't quite decided if that's exactly what I want from that slot or not. But I do like that it gives us ability to slip through and ignore blockers, which is something that can be quite tedious, and the fact that it gets your artifact blockers is good. Although the 8-casty type decks seem to be a little bit less common over this last week in my experience. Now, you know, you get paired against what you get paired against. At the end of the day, you can't be 100% sure that it's declining, but you just go from your little snapshot that you've seen. I've seen a lot less of that, but that might be because people are trying the new broken stuff instead of like the old reliable 8-cast. But I think our 8-cast matchup is now looking pretty good when we've got the Ouphes and the Rods. So, yeah, I don't have any changes I would make to this deck right now. I think it is, next time I play it, probably next week, because I like to do regular ones, so I am testing for a big event. And I may as well share some of that testing with you. So yeah, next time I play this deck, I will probably play this exact same 75, unless I have some different tech or something I want to try out. Maybe something different in the Apostle's Blessing slot, possibly. But that's just sort of tweaking and testing. If someone put a gun to my head and said, you have to go and play in a tournament right now, I'd probably say, I'm really tired. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And please don't put a gun to my head. But if I had to play the deck, I would play this deck. This was the 75 I would submit at a tournament if I went to one in the immediate future. I think this deck is humming really well. It's really streamlined right now, and I'm enjoying it. And if you want to know about all the intricacies and slight discussions on the card choices, the reason we're not running things, as well as a comprehensive breakdown of matchups and just a general rules of sideboarding, so that even if you play against something a bit quirky, you can still apply the logic to win those rounds, hopefully at least, and at least sideboard right, then my Patreon has exactly what you're looking for. If you go on there in the 2020 specialist tier in my Patreon, which is linked below, you can find the full deck guide to Green-Black Turbodepths, and it's very extensive and it gets updated every month. So if you're subscribed, you'll see the new updates that come every month, as well as additional articles I write every month about Dark Depths decks. So the one I'm working on at the moment is for Green-Black Slow Depths, which is like the more mid-rangey build of this, which the article will be going up sometime this month. And the updated primer will also be going up in a week or so, I think, roughly. But I'm very happy with where this deck is right now. And if you're happy watching me play it, that's also great. So why not like, subscribe, and comment? And if you know anyone who is into Legacy, why not share my content? It really helps. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.